congratulations, you have set up a Liferay Tomcat bundle, which is very easy. You unzip the bundle, configure it, run it, done. This runs embedded Elasticsearch. This is just the web server and it connects to the database. And we would totally like to be more production similar, to be running as in production, not like in development mode, which we are right here. Let me add something which is not in this chapter. If you download the Tomcat bundle from the Liferay website, then the Liferay portion, especially if you run Liferay DXP, the commercial version, is fully supported. Tomcat, part of this bundle, is absolutely yours. In other words, if you need an update to Tomcat, then please do so and get the update to Tomcat. Liferay will not deliver it unless you have a support contract that specifically includes Tomcat as well. We provide the Tomcat bundle so that you have a very easy installation, but we do not provide support for the Tomcat portion of this bundle, just for the Liferay portion. Now, you can install Liferay, any version, Liferay DXP 7.1, 7.0 on a vanilla Tomcat. The easiest way to figure out how that works is you download the bundle, you download the matching plain vanilla version, and you just do a diff. Because it basically just has a web apps, an application in Tomcat's web apps. It has 2 or 3 configuration files that are changed from the default, and that's about it. There are a few libraries in there that are required, and there's a web application, which is Liferay, and that's it. So it literally is not magic that we do there, but it's just so convenient. As you can see in the Docker file, unzip, and it's ready to run. But it's worth noting that the Tomcat portion is yours, despite us delivering it to you or making it available for download. Now, when we go into simulating a production environment, you now have Liferay running on localhost 8081. Anybody running that in production? No hands go up, and I don't see anything behind that glass as well, and nothing behind that glass in the back. Now, that's not a production setup. In fact, we want to run on port 80. We want to run automatically whenever a system starts, and we definitely want to run on the standard ports. Now, port 80 on a Linux system requires us to run as root. If you've looked at the Docker file, it said create a user named Liferay and run as that user. Why do we do that? We could as well just run as root. Sudo startup for Tomcat, done. Now I'm on video stating you can just sudo startup and Tomcat is running as root. And I also want to be on video with, if you do that, you can't claim that I told you to do so. I just told you that's an opportunity to bind to port 80, but you do not want that in production ever. Now, there are certain ways to make an unprivileged process in Linux bind to port 80 as well, or to port 443, which you actually want in production, to be honest. But we're not covering them. Instead, I'd rather like to add yet another component. In our case, in this training, it's a very easy component named HAProxy, which will bind to port 80 and then just forward all of the traffic that it can't handle itself to Tomcat. Now, HAProxy, as well as an alternative Apache HTTPD, is well able to bind to port 80 as root and then drop those privileges after it has bound to port 80, which means you can't really exploit it. If there is any bug, any issue with HAProxy, it will be an unprivileged user that you can then exploit. Same thing with Tomcat. If you run as an unprivileged user in Tomcat, if there is any security issue in there, you at least don't want to run as root, so you want to run as an unprivileged user, which is exactly what we have configured. Now, when we add HAProxy to the system, then we can easily just go into the system and look at the configuration for HAProxy. This is what you find in the appropriate directory in your exercises folders. We have prepared it all for you. What we have here are all of the settings. By the way, in this course, we're only covering HTTP, not HTTPS. So in production, yes, I fully understand you do not want to run port 80, you want to run port 443. As we would require certificates for localhost, we don't want to get into the whole mess of self-signed certificates here. That would be just over the top. And it's not Liferay related, it's some other infrastructure. So we don't teach how to properly set up the HTTPS server. That would be Tomcat or HAProxy's thing to basically make sure to run HTTPS. So whenever I'm talking about HTTP in this course, then it will be HTTPS in your production system. That's what I'm assuming. After all, it's 2018. That is probably, does anybody know when Firesheep came out, that famous plugin for Firefox, which allowed you to just capture sessions in your local Starbucks and see who is logged in? When back in the times when Facebook was still on HTTP and not on HTTPS, probably 5 years ago, if not more. Okay, so here we have the configuration. We have it bind to port 80, which we have here. We'll use a backend Liferay cluster, point to some of these servers, and that's it. You have all of the Docker files prepared. You can just run the HAProxy container. You can make Liferay depend on it. You can make it depend on Liferay. And then, or you can have them completely independent of each other, because once HAProxy runs, you can reach Tomcat or Liferay on port 80. So in this case, HAProxy runs as a reverse proxy, allowing users to separate their data, their Java server from the outside world, but still get the behavior needed. Now, one additional information that I would like to add to this is it has saved my butt a few times, long time ago, probably 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And again, during those 10 years, but the one instance was the most memorable. There was just a bug in one of the components which caused a path element to appear twice. Now, you can either go into Liferay or go into Tomcat. I can't remember where exactly that issue was in, and fix it there. There was an issue that was fixed later. Or I was running an Apache HTTPD in front, mod rewrite. Trivial fix, took me a minute, and the problem was forgotten. Nobody ever bothered me with that anymore. So I would say mod rewrite saved my bacon and was really helpful. And since then, it's basically a default installation. I'm running a web server in front on the appropriate ports, and then I'm running the application server somewhere in the back. And with a cluster, you definitely need that because you want a load balancer anyways. And that's yet another reason why we actually want this reverse proxy already set up, because one of the next operations, not the very next, because we're going to install on Wildfly first, but after that we're going to install a cluster, and then we'll make use of the load balancing options that we have in HAProxy. Okay, did I talk long enough that somebody has HAProxy running already? Yes, yes, almost. There was a no, but he's still almost, he's smiling. Okay, then ready, set, go, and we'll cover the rest in the next chapter.